first thing, I think I've acquired an Akiya, which is a Japanese empty house, and I think I've acquired it by accident. I don't want to show the obviously the address and everything, but basically it's very official looking, and it's got an official red stamp, very intricate, which I don't know, their hanko, the city hall hanko, which is the basically very official stamp. And I see, I'm not fluent in Japanese. I've never studied it. Just a bit, self study. So I can't read it. So I can't, I've used the Google app, which you can use these days. I couldn't use that when I came to Japan initially. The translation, it's very vague. I can't tell if it says we've accepted your application or if it says we've given you the house. Now, for those who don't know, basically in Japan, houses depreciate over time, so it's not an investment. It's not. It's just a labor of love, really. People are just jumping on this, especially foreigners. Because a lot of Japanese, they don't really want an Akiya. Maybe they've grown up in a rural area, they're done with it, and they just want to live in the city. City living is a premium on city living in Japan in the way that there isn't, for example, in my country. Country living, how can I say? City living is if you're anyone who's anyone in Japan, you live in the city, more or less. Whereas that's not the case in my country. And so, for cultural reasons, I feel like these akiyas, these empty houses, a foreigner might have a lot more interest in them than a Japanese person, and they can't sell them. So, someone like me will come along and try and get one and try and apply for one. This one actually costs 0 yen, zero. So sometimes there'll be, a certain amount, but this was nothing. So I had nothing to lose. It took me all day to apply. I had to write a little letter why I think they should give it to me as opposed to somebody else. So yeah, and then I forgot about it. It's been months and months, and I've received this letter. Now I feel if it was just, oh, we've accepted your application, I can't imagine it would have taken this long to get a response. It would have just been a few weeks. So that's what makes me think I might have actually been given the house. And then I immediately panicked because I thought, God, what a responsibility, and tax and so on. But tax is based on the value of the house, which is zero. So, and then the only compulsory thing after expenses, fire insurance, which is negligible. And I also, obviously, right now I don't have the time or inclination to do any renovations. So basically, that means one of the main things I checked before I actually applied for it is there a hot spring nearby, volcanic hot spring somewhere I can go and, to live in the house, but I can go and wash without having maybe the bathroom renovated, something that, or the plumbing sorted. You don't know what kind of problems the house has got. I have no idea, but I just knew that if there's a hot spring nearby, I can just live in the house and then I can go to the hot spring to, do whatever I need to do. So I'm going to do that. I haven't seen it yet, but anyway, yeah, it might just be we've accepted your application, but just the official looking nature of it gives me the impression that they have given it to me. But I will definitely update you. So one way or another. Okay. Second thing is this building is being crushed because it's too old. I applied for this apartment when I was living in my country. The only spec I received from my work was you need to be in this city. Of course, they said, would you like us to sort out your accommodation? I said, no, I'll do it myself, which I did. I had previously, when I lived in Japan, I'd always had a car. I wasn't intending to use a car here because I'm in a very urban area where you can take the train. But I didn't realize that if you don't have a car, how important it is to, if you're going to be going to work every day, how important it is to be in close proximity to the station. Unless you have a small young family at home and there's one person going to work, that would justify being far from the station because the larger space means that one person can be at home all day with the child or whatever. But for someone like me, where the place is empty all day, there's no real justification, and I'm a bit far from the station. So the fact this building's been demolished, and obviously I'm getting help from this estate agent to move to another place, has been a big plus for me actually, because it means I've been able to choose my next apartment better, and I have chosen a nicer apartment, higher rent, but very close to the station, and a bigger and obviously more modern, and so on. So I'm very happy with that. That's going to be in a couple of weeks. I also I wanted there was the option of moving more into central Tokyo. The rent where I live is the same, basically the same, um, more or less compared to in the middle of Tokyo. So I thought, shall I take this chance to just go more into Tokyo because it's a bit of a rush job because everyone has to get out of here before there's a deadline. It's not something I can take my time to just browse and choose. And so because of that, I decided just to stay in this area for now. Angel Tokyo is something I can do at a later date. Um, so yeah, I'm basically also I have to say this. Yeah, in Kanto region, it's not as foreigner friendly as the place I've lived before. I think there's many variables related to this. I don't know, in Saitama recently, or no, last year, there was apparently skirmishes with Kurdish people, Kurdish refugees, between Kurds and Japanese. They've also recently banned tourists in areas of Kyoto, which I agree with, because I think that if you want to see a geisha, I think you should book for to have a geisha the same as the way a Japanese person would. So I do understand why that I support that basically, but there it feels like an undercurrent of anti-foreigner sentiment right now, and that really makes me want to stay in more. To be honest, it I the prices I pay in restaurants, even though they're reasonable, they don't really justify often the hostility that I receive from people, the customers, and sometimes even the staff. I work hard for my money, and I don't really want to deal with that. So I'm really glad I've got a big kitchen now. So I like cooking, I like being at home, and I know Japanese food very well. So it's just going to be, much, much easier and very relaxing for me to just stay at home until whatever storm is going on right now in Japan in terms of, the anti-foreigner sentiment that's being whipped up, just going to lie low until that's passed, basically. So I'm happy with my big apartment. Um, yeah, and the other thing is, I very much miss the UK. I've touched on that a little bit with what I just said. I really belong there, especially, being the ethnicity that I am. I really belong there. And yeah, I never really appreciated how much I belong to the land. But however, having said that, I do, I keep ending up in Japan. I know that sounds smug, for a European, Japan is not a go-to place. I have to say, and there's so much going on in America as well. But I do feel Japan is a draw for some Americans in a way that it's not for a European. Just one of those things. So when I say, "Oh, I keep ending up in Japan," to a British person, that doesn't mean anything. Just all my roads have brought me here every time, and I do keep going back to the UK, and I keep ending up back here. But anyway, I miss the UK. I miss the food. I think it's the best for a British person. It's the best in the world. There's no competition if you're British. I understand that people who are not British don't feel any affinity with British food. The other thing is just the people, the banter. On a Sunday, not much going on outside because a lot of things are shut. Just some scrote down the road will put on this new tune he's found, and he'll put it on really loud. And if people didn't want to listen to it, if people hated that music, someone would definitely say, turn it off. But the fact that usually it's really good music, and it makes me happy to hear it. And obviously everyone else on the street as well, the fact that he's been allowed to just blast it out the window, I really feel like a member of the street, of the community, the city. We all know Japan is a very isolating place. That being said, I think the peace, I really, there's nowhere more peaceful for me than Japan. It's a very peaceful place. Um, so yeah, on that note, and finally, I've recovered from Christmas in the sense that my finances have finally recovered. We're into March, so I will be starting doing some more proactive vlogging, probably do some things at home, cooking, and start going out because I'm very much a summer person. I don't do well in cold and grey. Thank you for listening, and yeah, see you next time.